Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Kerri if we haven't met yet, and I am a below the knee amputee of 1.5 years. I'm going to answer this question right here because it is the single most question asked by people looking for validation to making this elective amputation decision. Now, I have no idea what this person's story actually is. They just reached out to me asking this simple question, and I wanted to address it for anybody who's going through this particular situation. I know that there are a ton of people just like me who actually asked this question through the depths of the night. I asked this question to anybody who would answer me. I looked up YouTube videos, I looked up amputee forums, I reached out to personal amputees asking all of my questions. I researched the internet to the very depths of the evening, trying to figure out whether or not this was the right decision for me. But what I found was that nobody's story actually perfectly fit mine, and it was really hard for me to find validation in my feelings, but then also in the decision to amputate. I had people telling me yes, I had people telling me no, I had the internet telling me everything in between. It's a very hard decision to make. If you're going through this decision-making process, feel free to reach out and ask me any questions. My email is always in the description below, and of course you can always leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe and share this with anybody who you think might benefit from this information. Maybe somebody you know is facing elective amputation, and whether or not you agree is completely beside the point. That is their life, it is their business, it is what they are going to do, whether or not you agree with it. The best thing that you can do as a family member or a friend is support them in their decision. Of course, bring up your concerns if it's not the right decision, but just because it's not the right decision for you does not mean it's not the right decision for them. So when I was making this decision for myself, like I said, I did all of this research, but I really needed somebody to say, yes, this is the right decision for you, and I could not find that no matter where I looked. No doctor would say it, no amputee would say it, the internet wouldn't say it. I couldn't get anybody to say, yes, you need to cut off your leg. So my motorcycle accident was actually January 18th, 2011. So we are coming up on, why is math hard right now? 12 years? Yeah, 12 years in January. Wow, that's a long time. I broke my talus bone in half. So your foot is made up similar to your arm, where you have the two bones, you have your joints, and then you have your bone right here, which I think this is phalanges in your hand, but you have a big bone called your talus bone in your foot, and that is the one that I broke. It actually snapped right in half and turned underneath each other. So if this is the talus bone, it came apart and underneath each other, and it was turned sideways. So my foot was actually sideways. When they screwed it back together, he screwed it back together, and he said one of the major problems with this surgery is that you lose blood flow to your bone. We said, okay, we will be aware of that and take any necessary measures to prevent it. So I made sure that I did whatever I was supposed to do. That's not true. I actually went right back to work after that surgery on a cast because my husband had lost his job. He got laid off. As soon as I got out of the hospital, I did not take a moment off of work. I actually went right back to work as a hairstylist, standing up in a surgical boot. It wasn't even a cast. And I really think that that may have played a part in why my foot did what it did. My foot healed in a drop foot position, meaning my foot was stuck in a high heel position. So I wore heels all day, every day. I wore them to work. I wore them to do the chores. I wore them on our 1 acre to feed the animals, to mow the lawn. I had a riding lawnmower. I didn't actually push mow the lawn. I did everything in high heels because that was the position of my foot, and it was more comfortable to wear the heels than it was to walk around on my toes. But by the end of the night, I was so sore and so swollen that I was crawling to finish dinner and to finish getting things picked up enough that I could go to bed, just to wake up and start it all again the next day. This went on for the 10 years that I was a hairstylist, And then once we moved to Virginia, my husband and I went on the trip of a lifetime to Rome, Italy, and my foot ruined it completely. He said that it didn't. It did for me. I didn't get to go see the aqueducts or, the main parts of the Roman Colosseum. Inside the Vatican, I couldn't walk to certain things because of my foot. So I came home and said, I'm done. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to cut off my foot or to fix it so that I can live my life. So to answer the pain question, the pain was so great that I couldn't enjoy Rome, Italy. The pain was so great that I would crawl at the end of the night. I would wake up every morning at around a level 8 pain. Sometimes it was as less as 6 or 7, but generally between 6 and 8 pain scale, and I would go to bed past a 10, meaning I couldn't walk on it at all. There was no more pain that I could take. My foot had completely given out by that point, and the swelling, it would swell up like a grapefruit. Absolutely. There was just so much going on with this foot. But one of the things that I did try before we amputated, which was a ton of things, but one of the things that really helped was going on a sugar-free diet, because sugar directly impacts the amount of inflammation that you have in your body. And once I heard that my foot was full of arthritis and inflammation, that's whenever my light bulb said, hey, wait a minute, what if I cut out sugar? Will that help? And it did, slightly. It brought it down from a level, 8 to 7 when I woke up to 6 or 7, but I was still at my max at the end of the day. So it helped some get through the day a little bit more comfortably, but not by much. So to answer more of the question of how I minimized the pain before amputation, there wasn't a whole lot that I could do. I wore the heels. I still had to work. I was still a single mom because my husband is a truck driver and was back then as well. So during this whole trucking season, I'm on my own. I didn't ever take medication because medication has always had such bad adverse effects on me. So I just more or less deal with the pain. So I think that answers the question of what was life like before my amputation, what was the swelling like, and how did I manage the pain. But if you have more questions about that, please feel free to email me or put it in the comments below, and I will absolutely address that for you. I wasn't sure how to fix my foot after we got back from Rome, Italy. I just needed help with this. So even though I had all of this professional advice at my fingertips, nobody actually said, Kerri, you need to cut off your leg. And in fact, they even said it's completely up to you what you want to do. But one thing that they all three did mention was that it was only a matter of time before my foot would actually give out. And Dr. Ertl actually mentioned in our consultation that I could do this electively on my own time schedule and when I wanted to do it, rather than wait until my foot actually did give out, not knowing when that would be, what state we would be in as a family, and how high that would affect my leg. So right now we get to choose how long my limb is going to be. However, if for some reason I step in a hole or something and I break my leg, there's no telling where that traumatic amputation will actually take place, rather than choosing how long my limb is going to be. So we chose July 2nd of 2021. Dr. Ertl actually came in my room after my amputation when I was awake. I think it was a day or two later, and I asked him, did you happen to look inside my foot before you did whatever you do with them? And he said, yeah, and it was gnarly. I don't know how you were still walking on that and using it. It needed to go. So that was really good validation and confirmation, but it was after it was cut off. I did not have that before I decided to amputate. It freed me to press on and move on, knowing that I had made the right decision, but I did not have that before I made that decision. I was up walking at 8 weeks on my first prosthetic limb, which I also documented. You can check that out. And here I am a year and a half later, still walking, running, and doing all the things that I would hope to do before the amputation with minimal pain. I do still have pain. Getting back to your question, I do still have pain. This bone right here is very, very painful if I become end bearing. So much so that they gave me a bubble bump out in my socket to accommodate that area so that that bone does not touch any part of my socket whatsoever, which it was perfect when it was made. However, it actually is hitting that socket in some way, shape, or form, and it is very painful at the end of the day and even in the middle of the day. I did trade out some pain, but it's a completely different pain. Comparing before amputation to after amputation, and the pain and the troubles that I have is kind of like comparing apples and cats. It just doesn't correlate whatsoever. So before, I couldn't walk at all. I had a very poor quality of life and a very, very high pain level. After amputation, I have a very low pain level, but I've traded it for some of other inconveniences. For example, when my leg doesn't fit, I am stuck on a knee scooter or a walking aid of some sort, sometimes a wheelchair. I can't get outside very well, and I can't take my kids to their activities. However, that is minimal. That doesn't happen very often. But daily life, what generally happens is this particular socket is a suction socket, and I talked more about that in my modular socket, the new technology socket. I explained all of my socket and what it does and why I'm looking for a different socket. But in a nutshell, I have to wear socks with this socket because you lose volume in your leg and you have to make up that volume. Otherwise, your socket doesn't fit. It's kind of like your foot shrinking in the middle of the day. Your shoes don't fit. You have to put something else in there to make that shoe fit because your shoe doesn't shrink. This socket does come with its inconveniences, and I'm sure every socket does, until your limb is completely done changing. I have heard that at some point you become desensitized, meaning there's not a lot of pain anymore, and you can become end bearing, which is the whole point of the Erdl procedure, is to be end bearing, but I'm not there yet. And also that your limb doesn't change anymore, which would be fantastic, to be able to wear the same socket every single day, like a pair of shoes that you just put on and you work with all day long. That would be amazing. However, I am not there yet. But do I have swelling and pain comparable to before? Absolutely not. I have new pain and I have new limb changes, not necessarily swelling, but I have new limb changes according to what I eat and the activity that I'm doing that day. So if I'm really busy, then my limb will shrink and I have to add on extra socks. So it's a whole thing to have to stop what you're doing, find a bathroom, depending on the clothes that you're wearing, and put on some socks to make yourself comfortable again so that you can carry on. However, it does not even compare to the life that I lived before. I am 100% happy with my decision, and I would make it again. I can't say that I would have made it earlier. Like a lot of amputees say, oh, I wish I would have made this decision earlier. I wasn't ready earlier. I hadn't tried every single thing I could think of to try, from food to medicine to surgeries to PT to just daily life, being nice to my foot. I tried everything in that time, and when I had nothing else to try, that's when I amputated, and I am fully confident in my decision. So life before the amputation had a level 10 plus pain level, and I was not able to think during that time because all of my energy was focused on my pain and getting through the day. Now, whenever I can't wear my leg, at least I don't have that pain and I can freely think. So it doesn't even really compare. I hope that this was beneficial for you. I hope that that answered your questions. If you have any more, like I already said, please feel free to email me. That's the only reason that I have this channel, is to put information out there from my perspective and to help make this journey just a little bit easier for somebody who else might be going through it. So if you have a question, put it in the comments or email me, and you guys have a fantastic day. I can't wait to share the new technology with you as soon as it comes out, so be watching for that.